It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
The Christmas edition of A Cup of Coffee right here from Slumberland at the lake. Uncle Chris and I, we got a full show. On the other side of the break, I'll be joined by Sarah Bland from Versailles High School, just a junior, but really cool cause and project she's working on.
Yep.
And then we also got some big local stories. Hey, Lake getting a Topgolf.
How about that? This is a pretty cool story.
Plus a tourism tax being talked about a comeback potentially. Plus Ameren is warning dock owners about the drawdown, that and a whole lot more. But first, this from Slumberland at the lake.
Lots of customer favorites at Slumberland. Sofas as low as $389 at Slumberland. Lots of customer favorites at Slumberland. Sofas as low as $389 at Slumberland.
Yeah, make sure during the holiday you stop by here at Slumberland at the lake. And as promised, it's Sarah Bland from Versailles with the DECA program. Versailles Junior Sarah Bland. And Sarah, I know you've been working on a pretty cool project. I happened to go to Versailles, and so I was really excited to bring somebody that is in a class thriving that I was in. And so we're going to focus on foster care and adoption. I know that's important to you. So tell us about your project with DECA.
Okay, so my project with DECA is I am creating a community awareness project where I just spread the awareness of adoption and foster care, specifically the adoption of children ages 9 and up. And so that's what it is. And I'm doing some different events to raise money for a local Osage Beach foster care place. And so that's what I'm doing right now.
Well, good for you. And I love the specific. You said foster care and kids that are 9 and up. And as I understand, foster care, adoption, that's tough. But as kids get older, they're not as adopted as easy, right? And so that's something that's really near and dear to you. So tell me, what made you choose to focus on this for this year's project?
So I chose to focus on this because I haven't myself been adopted, but I have been around people in my school, different teachers who have done the foster care system. And we've actually done kind of an open foster care. So we didn't really foster this child because they were still with their family, but we got to take them in for a while during school. And so it started to kind of, pull at me and become something really important to me that I wanted to share with the local area and the region that I live in.
Well, that's awesome. You got to kind of see firsthand the impact. And so with this, maybe, and I know there's big competition coming up, we'll talk about that, but I understand this has kind of maybe inspired a future career for you, right? So talk a little bit about that.
So technically my career is still undecided, but I know that I really want to do something involving children or kind of the adoption field. And this project has really helped me expand the field that I'm kind of looking at. So I've got to talk to the Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption Association, some people there, some representatives, and they've really helped me find a future career path in that and maybe something that I want to do and be able to change some children's lives.
Wow. So as a high school junior, you're meeting with the Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption and state representatives. So this is important, and I can tell you're definitely making some headway. So let's talk about some of those efforts that you're currently doing and kind of the process of your project.
So yeah, I've made multiple efforts to spread the awareness of my project. Starting with Scare on the Square with Como Connect in Versailles. I had some new and returning DECA members help me pass out candy, and while I passed out information to parents. One of the other ones I did was the girls' home opener wrestling tournament, where I set up a little table where people could donate to the Christmas fundraiser, actually where I partnered with the Central Missouri Foster Care Association. where people could donate to the Christmas funds to be able to provide for foster families.
Wow.
And so with that, I didn't really get the turnout that I wanted at the tournament. And so I got to move on to local churches and so I got some donations from that. And then the last event that we kind of held was just last week, where we partnered with the local Bees Knees Brewery. Me and another DECA project had 2 Christmas trees, and so people got to bid on the Christmas trees and got to take home a fully decorated, Chiefs decorated one and kind of a woodsy theme, and then all the money that we raised from that goes to our specific charities that we're raising.
Wow, so you've been making some serious efforts, and so I know you said some of the events, like going to some of those, maybe you didn't get the donations, but what was some of the feedback from the people you'd interact with, that they'd see you there promoting this? What was some of that feedback like?
So you could kind of tell whenever people would walk by or come speak to me that they were a little bit confused that this high school student is doing such a big adoption and adult kind of thing. And so it was really important to show them that I kind of knew what I was talking about. Yeah. And so some people, I actually got my connection with the Central Missouri Foster Care and Adoption Association from my Scare on the Square. A lady come up and spoke to me and was like, hey, I volunteer here. And I was like, oh, so I checked them out and I ended up getting to do this fundraiser with them.
Wow, so you're already seeing the fruit of that labor, making those connections. I want to talk a little bit about, because I think so many people don't know, and you've learned this, this, the adoption process. It's more challenging, it's maybe harder to obtain than some might understand. So real quickly, tell us kind of what that process looks like.
Yeah, so like you said, it actually takes longer than most people would think. It goes from 1 to 2 years and can take longer sometimes. So the first step is deciding if you want to go through a private adoption or if you want to go through the foster care system. Then you have to complete some classes, the home study, and all the paperwork. And then an important thing when adopting older is in Missouri, if the child is 14 or older, they have to have consent to be able to go through with the adoption. And so that part can take a little longer. And then after that, you just have to make sure that the parents' rights or the biological parents' rights are terminated, and then you can officially adopt.
That is a lengthy process. It's diverse, but it's important, and you set up to 2 years, and I understand that some of these efforts, you're getting more involved so people understand what that's like. Okay, so before we go, you've got a big paper you're working on for your DECA competition. I know you guys are going to be presenting to your judges, but what's most important, I thought, is why this matters and some of those stats, those facts that people may not know. So do you know some of those you can share with us?
Yeah, so in the United States, there are about 391,000 children in foster care, the foster care system, and specifically 13,000 of those are just in Missouri. So Missouri children, 13,000 of them are in the foster care right now. And so it's really important that people get out and volunteer or make the decision to adopt so that those children can have a loving, caring family that love them through anything.
Sure. Amazing work, Sarah Bland with Versailles. Hey, good luck in your competition, and thank you for your work and for sharing with us. And Merry Christmas, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back on Cup of Coffee after this. Hey everyone, it's William Holtz with Lake TV wishing you a very Merry Christmas and reminding you, don't forget the true reason for the season this year, and that is, of course, the birth of our Savior, Jesus Christ. And another thing, just want to mention, this year's going to be a little different for us. We're celebrating this season the first Christmas with our beautiful baby girl, Brenly Liliana, so we've got tons to be thankful for. On behalf of our crew here at Lake TV, Merry Christmas. Boy, a lot's changed over the last 4 years after
Wow,
seeing
you
that.
look a little bit different, right? You've lost weight.
Yeah, lost a little weight, and it's not Brenly's first Christmas we're getting ready to enjoy. Or hey, it's here essentially, but fifth Christmas for her this year. She's 4 years old.
Those years fly by, don't they? Seems
No.
like she was just born.
Yeah, before we know it, she'll be like Sarah, junior in high school, doing big things. And speaking of Sarah, she's not just a DECA student doing all these great things for foster care and adoption, but she's a pretty good player for the Versailles Lady Tigers. You can see her again on Lake TV in February, right?
Yeah, that we've got a doubleheader night where the girls play the first game, the boys play the second game. We'll have both those games here on Lake TV, and I believe that's Versailles at Eldon. And we'll have 3 of those doubleheaders this year, doing the women's game first, the boys' game second. It'll be Versailles and Eldon, Osage and Eldon, and Max Creek and Climax Springs. So those will be fun.
I'm blown away. I'm so surprised and shocked and impressed at how many schools you have gotten included this year, from the coaches we have on the coaches show to the mini schools on our 14-game schedule. And I watched Monday, our first girls game of the season, and Osage at Camdenton. Osage favored coming in, right? They were up 17-4 early, but man, Camdenton ran away with it down the stretch, and big win for Coach Caffey. That was cool watching that on Lake TV.
Yeah, it really was. And I said during the broadcast, you don't see games like this very often where a team is just completely blown out early and then they find their legs and end up winning the game. It was a pretty impressive comeback. Big win for Coach Caffey and Camdenton. The Osage team is going to be pretty good. They're very young, a lot of sophomores.
I noticed both teams super young.
Yeah.
First, when I was watching, I was like, oh, these girls look so young. This is a JV game. And as you watch the broadcast, you just learn how many underclassmen are playing for both schools. But lots of great high school basketball on Lake TV the rest of the way. And as we get into local headlines, big story every year, Ameren starts to warn people about, hey, get ready, you dock owners, for the annual winter drawdown. So on December 10th, they sent out their official press release.
Yeah, so of course, if you live on the water, most people on the water have docks and boats and all that stuff. And in the winter, of course, they bring the lake down about 6 feet. I mean, that's a big drawdown, from, regular summer full pool, 660 feet above sea level. Well, they drop it 6 feet down. That means the docks are dropping, the walkways are dropping, everything's going down. So Ameren warns, homeowners and dock owners, just prepare for that. Make sure your dock is ready for that so that nothing major breaks and everything. And here's what they suggest. If you're below the dam, remove the docks from the river before the freezing occurs. That'll ensure a whole lot of things don't break, right? Also, lengthen your cables. You know those cables that go from the land out to the dock, kind of hold everything in place. You have to loosen those and tighten those depending on how high the water level is. So when they draw the lake down, you have to loosen those cables because the dock kind of goes further away from the land. That's pretty key. And if you don't live here full time, ask your neighbors to keep an eye on things. To call somebody if something should break or go wrong so it doesn't end up catastrophic. Hopefully you can, get to it and fix it before it goes too bad. And a lot of people say, well, why does Ameren drop the lake 6 feet in the winter? Well, they do a lot of maintenance, on the dam and different things, but that also allows homeowners to do a lot of maintenance on their seawalls and different things like that. So there's a lot of good reasons to do that. And it also, if there's like flooding rains somewhere in the tributary system, then we don't get flooded here. They've got, a 6 foot room for flooding, runoff to come in.
Sure. And if you want to find out more about that, the reason behind it, as Chris alluded to, ameren.com/lake, find out all the things you need to. So a lot of our recent weeks and months have been spent in different stories about the city of Osage Beach. A lot of contention. A lot of people in the city of Osage Beach have had many questions. Well, the only way you can make change is, hey, go ahead and get involved. And we got a press release from Jamie Rutledge with the city of Osage Beach candidate filing now open for April of 2025 elections. So candidates who are interested in running for the open seats in the Osage Beach Board of Aldermen can file the required paperwork with the city, and their seats open in all 3 wards. Now, as you see here on screen, this can be found right from the city's website. You can see the timeline and the termination of everybody's terms. So people there, as Kevin Rucker, Phyllis Morose, and Celeste Barella, theirs was terminated in 2024, just hasn't been updated. They were reelected in 2024. So those 3, their term is up for reelection in 2026, as is Mayor Michael Harmison. However, with Ward 1, Bob Osteen, Ward 2, Justin Hoffman, and Ward 3, Richard Ross, those 3 seats up for reelection. Potential candidates must file a declaration of candidacy in person at City Hall with City Clerk Tara Barrett beginning 8 a.m. on Tuesday, December 10th. all the way through Tuesday, December 31st, so 8 to 5, and they are going to be closed on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th for Christmas. The last day to register to vote in Osage Beach, Missouri general municipal election is March 6th. Of course, that's in April of next year, but that's been a big topic is people want to know who's up for re-election, and really easy to find out as well if you just go to the City of Osage Beach's website. And one other thing I wanted to point out was you look at the 3 different wards for the City of Osage Beach. Also on the website, you can see the map there and how the area of Osage Beach is divided into those 3 different wards, which I thought was cool to be able to find that information right there online. So
that was fascinating. I didn't know that you had to file to run in the election this early. I mean, you have to do it by the end of the year, right? It looks like, and this is for the next the election next April. So I didn't realize you had to be that in the game, ahead of the game to be ready to go. So if you're going to run for something, be sure you get that done and get ready to go.
Sure. So another story, a big one I saw, Lake Expo came out with, does the Lake of the Ozarks need a tourism tax? Readers poll. Well, that was after the Lake Ozark city leaders say Lake of the Ozarks needs a tourism tax. The Board of Aldermen meeting December 10th, the board voted in Lake Ozark unanimously in favor of a resolution of support to a lake-wide conversation of forming a tourism or lodging tax. If you remember, the lake had a lodging and tourism tax, and it varied from county to county, the Tri-County region, for between 3 and 5% collected for lodging establishments. They gave those funds to business districts, and they gave those funds to the TCLA to spend them on marketing for Lake of the Ozarks. It was budgeted annually to be $1.9 million. But in June of this year, the Supreme Court ruled that the state law passed in the 90s, which established a framework for the tax, was actually unconstitutional. So the lodging tax here at Lake of the Ozarks came to an abrupt end. What that means was the $1.9 million annually to promote Lake of the Ozarks was no longer going to be collected and spent. This was met with mixed emotions. Russell Burdett talked about the business district's 20 years of promoting the lake. No one will be promoting the lake now. Others thought there was mismanagement, and others were pretty excited. Gail Griswold said that the negative concerns about not having a lodging tax are simply fear-mongering. And do I think the lodging tax in the lake is needed for advertising the lake? I do not. So you see the mixed emotions and what led to this. And the readers poll from Lake Expo was 72.8% as of Monday night were no, the lake doesn't need a lodging or tourism tax, whereas 27.2% said yes. So if you go based on that readers poll, it looks like the locals don't want it. What's your take?
I think it cracks me up that they vote unanimously in favor of a conversation, right? So, I mean, they really didn't vote on anything other than, yeah, let's talk about it. I think it's a good idea to talk about. I really do. I mean, does the lake need this, concerted effort to put monies together to promote the Lake of the Ozarks? They did it for a long time. Did it pay off? Did it not pay off? Don't really know. Haven't really seen any studies on that. And as you mentioned, there's some people that say, hey, we don't need that. There's other people that really think we do. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's see, if it is needed, if it's not needed, and if so, how to go about doing that is constitutional. I know there were a lot of people that didn't like the old system. They thought the old system was corrupt and, stuff like that.
There was a lot of what they believed to be mismanagement.
Yeah.
And then when there was conversations about starting to go after the nightly rentals and the investment properties, that's what really got the locals interested and involved, and ended up seeing this, the TCLA go away. However, I think it's worth noting that if you look at other tourism areas like Branson and Overland Park in Florida with Orlando, there are lodging and tourism tax, and much larger than our area has collected. And so I don't think we should be completely shut off to the idea of a tourism or lodging tax that's passed on to visitors. I won't go too far down this, but I think that the city of Lake Ozark did a great job. You said they just want to open that conversation because it needs to be had. And they're not saying it has to happen, because what I am hearing from concerned citizens is that it could be on food and it could be on your shopping, that the tourism tax which that would mean that then the locals year-round would have an increase in their everyday goods, and I would be absolutely against that. Now, if it's just passed on to the visitors, like it was on the nightly rental or the heads and beds, the lodging tax, I don't know, you spend differently when you're on vacation.
Yeah, you do.
But now that 1.9 million that was spent, and I'm not saying I agree with every spend that it was done historically with that money, but that goes away, that 1.9 million to market Lake of the Ozarks in Chicago and other parts of Illinois like Quincy and parts of Nebraska and Ohio and Florida, areas that the lake is actually, it's fact, seeing more interest and more people come to the lake from these states. Well, they're doing that somehow, right? And so I think that we should have this conversation, and I don't know what it looks like. I don't know what's right or wrong, but I think it could be a good thing. And I think if there's oversight and you get the right people involved, the lake could greatly benefit. So I see no problem with the Lake Ozarks resolution of support, because they're saying, hey, we just support open dialogue. We want to get other people involved. And I think we should get the people that are adamantly against it and the people that were involved in getting it disbanded, like Gail Griswold and that group. And I think we should get the new people that are interested, the city leaders from the city of Lake Ozark, get them all in a room together and have that conversation about why are you concerned, and let's see if we can't come to a middle ground and have adult conversation openly with everybody there, and maybe all the meeting of the minds will lead to something really good for Lake of the Ozarks. But I think that conversation needs to happen.
I do too. I mean, and it doesn't mean that it's going to, that there is going to be a new tax. It just means we're going to talk about it and see if there needs to be, if it would be a good idea and all that. Just talking about it isn't going to do any harm. I think that's a good idea. It'll be interesting to see where that goes.
And if you look at the resolution in its entirety, it was very well done because all the whereases said other areas, how much tourism and visitors economic impact it has and how much it would create. And so it actually was very logical in that resolution with all of the details. So I encourage you to go to Lake Expo and the City of Lake Ozarks Facebook and their website and look at that because I thought that was well done. All right, we move ahead. Big headline, Top Golf, not quite, but Pinseekers coming to Lake of the Ozarks. It's official, as you saw on Lake Expo.
Yeah, and you drive by this, if you drive on 54 going from Lynn Creek to Osage Beach, you'll notice on the south side of the highway of 54 there, they've been clearing out a valley there. I mean, doing a lot of work, clearing it out, getting it ready for something. And we always drove by there going, I wonder what's going in there, and stuff. So we finally get the story of what they're doing. They're putting in a golf thing. It's not Top Golf, but it's like Top Golf. It's called Pinseekers, a recreational golfing complex. That is what they are developing out there. The site sits right there, eastbound Highway 54 between Y Road and the city limits. A husband and wife team that's developing this. And they say drivers on 54 will begin to see the landscape starting to change over there. And they expect this to open in 2025. This is coming pretty fast. So Here's what they're doing. It's Pinseekers, Top Golf style golfing entertainment complex. I think that's going to be huge around here. Full food and drink services will be included. Also include mini golf, simulators, arcades, 30 golf bays, and a rooftop 9-hole putting course. How cool is that? And again, it's right off of 54. They're expected to open in the coming year. I think this is going to be big.
Oh, I think this has a huge potential and opportunity. It's Tyson and Aaron Bauer, and their husband-wife team, like you said. A pretty cool story. That was not their initial plans with this land. And so they've got some partners in this, but I thought what was really cool is these bays will be shielded from bad weather, and they'll have heaters in the winter. And so with bad weather in the summer, cold weather in the winter, this is going to be the place where you can go and have some fun. You see some renderings there. This looks pretty cool. And there's already 2 other Pinseekers in the country. There's one in Madison, Wisconsin, and one in Iowa City, Iowa, with another 3 under construction, one in Iowa, another one in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, and then one in the Tampa, Florida region. So how about this? And it got so much traction online.
Yeah, and I tell you what, they're all in on this. They've already they've invested more than $500,000 just to get to where they are now.
Right.
Cleaning that valley out there and everything. Now, the original plan had been to build luxury man cave units. They referred to as car condos. They decided, I think somebody else did that before they did, so they kind of had to change plans. But I think this is a good plan. I think this is going to be something that, and they have like interactive targets. Not only do you physically get to see the ball land, but it'll light up and interact and all that. So I think it's going to be really cool.
It's maybe like a step above Topgolf as you hear some of the things they point out, but we'll tell you more really exciting stuff. Hey, something for those that love social media. That's a lot of people in 2024 as we look into 2025. We've heard, hey, the United States is going to ban TikTok, but we're not really taking that seriously. Well, you might want to, because the new law signed into effect in April of this year requires TikTok to break ties with their parent company, ByteDance, before January 19th of 25. That's the day before President-elect Trump is set to take office. Lawmakers have urged ByteDance to divest by deadline so Americans stay on the app, but it has not happened. As a matter of fact, they're actually fighting the law in court, arguing it violates the First Amendment. But earlier this month, December, a federal appeals court panel unanimously upheld the law. So it looks like, even though TikTok and ByteDance are appealing this to the United States Supreme Court, it's unclear whether they'll even take the case. TikTok may be going away. It would require app stores and internet browsers to stop distributing TikTok or face harsh penalties. That's if the current status holds. Now, of course, the Supreme Court could rule an injunction, which would halt the law from going into effect to give them more time to consider taking the case. But even if it's not January 19th of next year, it looks like TikTok is going to be much different without its ties to ByteDance, or maybe unavailable to people here in America.
You know, and I equate this to, Chinese owning American farmland, right? I mean, I kind of equate it as basically the same thing. And the reason why this is such a big deal and why Americans are very skeptical of TikTok is because everything coming out of China is basically run by the Chinese Communist Party, right? I mean, they don't have independence. They're pretty much all run by the government. So all of the information that TikTok gathers, all of its massive data that it gathers on Americans is going straight to the Communist Party, right? And so the U.S. probably wisely is going, what the heck? We're giving them all of our information. They know more about us by far than we know about them. So there's a safety thing going on here.
And the concern with why is them getting our data information a problem? Well, it gathers or leads to potential coercion, especially with Beijing, as far as you mentioned the Communist Party, but spying and manipulating Americans over time with subliminal messages. You look at the increase in our hours of usage. So it'll be interesting, but TikTok may be a platform that won't be available much longer to you here in the States. Hey, real quick, it's Christmas week coming up. Lots of great stuff happening right here on Lake TV. So what's brewing, brought to you by our good friend Chris Lightco. Hey, get ready to illuminate your lakefront paradise in 2025 with Chris Lightco, but high school basketball on Lake TV.
Yeah, baby, it's going good. It's been a busy week this last week. A lot of games before Christmas. Our last game leading up to Christmas was Friday, December 20th in Versailles, home to Smith Cotton. But after the New Year's, we get right back at it. More games on Friday, January 3rd. We've got Eldon home to Boonville. And then Friday, January 10th, Camdenton home to Cap City. We've got games through January, games through February. A lot of, all the local teams, some great matchups. It'll be a lot of fun.
Hey, and our friends over at COMC, they have had some great new doctors. Our buddy Tim Bartlett, Dennis, back with, he's back practicing, come out of retirement, back with COMC, and you can catch Dr. Haney, new family practice doctor with COMC on the Community Spotlight Show this week with Uncle Chris. So before we go, just had to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, and I wanted to quote Isaiah speaking, addressing the people of Judah before the Babylonian exile in Isaiah 9:16, offering peace to a broken, feared people, for to us a child is born. To us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. And his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. From our Lake TV family to yours, from Slumberland at the Lake, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.